I'm talking to partner Jessica Marshall about property division in Illinois. So Jessica, when clients come to you and ask about property division, what do you think, or what do they tell you is their biggest fear?
I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this too. I think a lot of the times they're very worried that assets are going to be hidden, that their spouse has depleted things, that, how are we going to find everything? My spouse is so shady, and they want to make sure that we can get the full picture. I think that a lot of times they're very surprised at the things that we have at our disposal to try and track down assets and money and things that may have disappeared.
So Illinois is an equitable distribution state. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's different depending on the situation. I think that's the whole idea. Equitable is not equal, and I think people get confused oftentimes about the differential. And because we are an equitable distribution state, it basically means that the court can divide things based on what they feel is equitable, but they can't consider fault, right? So conduct, if you're abusive, if there's domestic violence, things like that cannot be considered when the court divides everything up. But they want to make sure that the division is equitable. Typically, the factors that the court will consider that are fair game are things like the parties' ages, their level of employment, their future income potential, their past income and earnings, their education level, their health, factors that don't really point to someone being a bad actor, so to speak. And they try to make it so that everybody is on equitable grounds. So if someone has less of an ability, for example, to earn more income in the future, they might give them a larger portion of the settlement now.
Jessica, what would you say clients are most surprised about regarding marital property?
I think the biggest thing that clients are surprised about is that the way the accounts are titled doesn't matter in terms of what is marital and what is non-marital. And I know you're nodding your head because you have this all the time too. But you get folks who come in and they're like, listen, we kept all of our assets separate. We have separate bank accounts. We each earn our paychecks. We contribute 50% to our bills. And my savings account is only in my name. And then you start asking questions. When did you accumulate it? Was it during the marriage? Was it with marital money? How did you get that savings account? And they're surprised to learn that even though the account is only money from their employment and it's only titled in their name, it is marital. It's subject to a division. And that the limited exception to that is if you have a prenuptial agreement that says otherwise, if you have an inheritance or a gift from a family member that you kept completely separate from everything else, and if you didn't commingle it with marital funds. So I think a lot of times folks think that because they had a way of operating during their marriage, keeping everything separate, that it should be very straightforward, where in Illinois, that's not the law and that's not how it works.
What is Anderson, Boback, and Marshall's approach to complex property division?
Well, the first thing that we have to do is ensure that we have all of the data in front of us and all of the information. So typically that means discovery, right? We have to get bank statements going back several years, tax returns, credit card statements, documentation of everything. And if you have a large marital estate, that's a lot of paperwork. We review it with our clients, we ensure that we have a full disclosure of everything, and then we assess whether or not we need maybe expert valuations, if there's a business that they own, if there's real estate that needs to be valued. And we bring in the proper experts to make sure that those valuations are done. And we work with the client to make sure that we have the full picture so that we can discuss what the fair way is to divide everything.
What would you recommend that someone do if they're preparing to file for divorce or getting ready to file?
I would recommend that they meet with an attorney sooner rather than later. A lot of folks think that they don't want to get an attorney until they absolutely have to, that they're going to mediate, that they're going to try and engage in negotiations. And we definitely work with clients where they don't want the attorney presence necessarily right at the beginning. If they want to mediate with each other, that's great. They can do that without attorneys if they'd like, but they should be advised going into that meeting as to what to ask for, what to expect. They should start gathering their financial documents, bills for their house, their credit card bills, their bank statements, going back several years, start putting them in folders and setting them aside to prepare for discovery, and set up a consultation. I mean, we offer a free consultation to potential clients to find out if we can help them and to try and set them on the right path. It's a great idea. It's never too soon to speak with an attorney when you're contemplating divorce.